Hey y'all, and welcome to Testimony Tuesday. It's your girl Brittany, Nursebaes, and today's testimony is going to be my nursing school woes. Y'all gonna want to stick around. So if you know anybody that's in nursing school, if you thought about going to nursing school, if you're in nursing school, you're gonna want to stick around to the end of this message, and you're gonna want to share this video because I am also going to be listing tips to help you throughout nursing school and just listing some of my testimony so that you guys can stay encouraged. If you're going through something, if you have failed a test or anything like that, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video. It's strictly testimony and motivation and tips. Okay, so let me just start by saying that I have been in the nursing profession for as long as I can remember. Like right out of high school, I went to become a medical assistant. As a medical assistant, I worked in some doctor's offices. I worked in a hospital lab and did a couple of things like that. And then parallel to that, I also became a pharmacy tech where I worked at our local Walgreens. And I did that for a little while. But while I was working in a doctor's office, I was kind of just in the vicinity of what I wanted. So I noticed like what the nurses would do. And I'm like, that's not that much more of what I would do. So a lot of the times what would happen is the nurses would have me checking emails, finding the patient's charts, doing all of these things, trying to lighten their load. And I'm kind of taking on their load. And then it wasn't long until I realized like, God, I could be doing this. So I was like, how can I do this? And especially, being a mom, how can I get this done in the quickest way possible? So I started to research some quick nursing, fast track nursing programs. And I found an LPN program that was like an hour away from my home. And so I started to look into that. And the LPN program, it took 11 months to complete. It was very strict, so you couldn't really have an outside life. You couldn't really work, and if you did work, it couldn't be that much. They made sure that they pretty much took up all of your time if you wanted to make it out of there. So the school that I went to was kind of like, we're going to break you down to build you up. So they showed us a lot of tough love in school that we did not appreciate when we was there. Just some of the things that they would do, they would make some of the nursing instructors would make some of the students cry in clinical. So it made clinical very stressful, like all of these things that I was going through. So I'm just like, I just want to get in and out of this school in 11 months. So the way our program was designed, it wasn't like you change classes or anything like that. It was like in the morning, if they wanted to talk about like fundamentals, which is like, basic care, which is like CNA type of care and that sort of thing, which is very important to build on when you want to become a nurse. And it's also very good just for skill and everything else if you are a nurse or a medical assistant or something prior to going to nursing school. Not to say that you need that, but it does help. And plus it's a way that you can work if you need a little money while you're going to school and not working that much. So they would do like fundamentals in the day, and then later on that afternoon in the evening time, they might do like pharmacology, and it would just be like that. So we would never know what we would do. So for my first round, so the way the program was set up, I made it to midterm, and during the midterm was pass and fail. So the midterm was pretty much all or nothing. There was no D's. You couldn't get a D or anything like that. Like you had to pass or you could not move on. And the way it was, because the work was clumped up like that, and it was no one class here, one class there, if you made it to the middle, if you made it to the midterm, you would have to either pass the midterm or you would have to restart the program, which was something that's something that they did. That's something, a part of being accelerated, a part of being their curriculum and how the course was outlined. So I made it to midterm and I failed by one question. I mean, if you're going to fail, let me just fail. Let me just miss like half of the stuff on the test if I'm going to fail. Don't let me fail for no one question. I missed, and I know a lot of people say that, but one question. And because the school was not in my neighborhood, they threw the question out, but didn't give me the point. So the school was very biased. It was very hard to prove. It was one of those things where you literally had to get in and get out. That's pretty much all you could do, and just get your stuff and keep moving. You couldn't, it wasn't no feelings in it. Like, you had to learn what you needed to learn and get out of the program. So I failed by 1 point, and so I was already like in a wilderness season at this time because I was riding with my friend. The school was an hour away from my home. My car had broke down. I got on the buddy system. And I was riding with my friend, so like, she passed, of course, so I didn't want to be the downer on her on the ride home. That was the longest ride home ever, because she was like calling her mom and she was excited, and I did not want to have deter that. So I was just like, she deserves to be excited because she works really hard for her grades, and here I am, like, what am I going to do? And so I thought about it for a little while. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is not my thing. Maybe this is not the right time. So when I got home, I thought about it and I cried about it for a while before I decided that I actually wanted to go back. What happened was God ended up changing my mind and changing the perception of how I saw it. So the way God broke it down to me is like, you could actually do this thing again. I had a B in the class too, not to mention I had a B. So my grade point average was a B, and I missed the midterm by 1 question. So I was not only mad, mad at myself that I came so close. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at the school. I was mad at everything. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm going to go somewhere else and start over, which didn't make any sense, because what God had shown me, because like, I was about to get in my flesh real quick, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to another school because I'm not gonna deal with them. I'm not doing this or dealing with that. And God just started showing me, like, you already know the way. God is like, you already, like, basically when you go back, you can go back and make straight A's. That's literally what I did, because God had to actually deal with me because I was getting ready to give up. So that's pretty much what I did. I looked at the bright side of things, like, hey, I gotta go. This is something that I want for myself. It does not matter what anybody else think. It does not matter what anybody else say. This is something that I am on the journey and on the road. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to complete this. So I ended up going back to the program, made all good grades, because I had remembered, it was still fresh on my mind. I didn't take no break. I made sure I went back, and I was like, you know what? My friends on the other side, they getting ready to graduate. I'll still see them, and you have to deal with the embarrassment and the shame of something when you feel like you fail or you feel like you should be further along. But I always account things back up to God, because there was a reason why I had to do this. And when I went back, I made better grades. I didn't have to worry about failing the midterm. I think I almost got an A on the midterm the second time. I met some amazing ladies that helped me further in my journey later on. So it was like all of these things, like this had to happen. And I still ended up graduating. Yeah, it took away 6 months that, I had already felt like I had built on that 6 months, but I had to go back and repeat that 6 months, but I did it and I graduated. And when I graduated, it was all the same. My friends was doing the same thing. I went and found a job. I still was looking into furthering my education. And so the route that I took, I did LPN first, because I figured if I take a fast track LPN program, I can work while I pursue my registered nurse. And for those who don't know what LPN is, it's a licensed practical nurse. So I went to look for a bridge program, because I'm like, okay, accelerated is the way to go, because I'm still done. I had a little setback, but I still had to get back on, and I'm still done. So I found an LPN RN bridge program that was 14 months. And I was like, this is doable. Now I can work as an LPN while I work on becoming a registered nurse. And that's pretty much what I did. So I did that. I went through things. I passed some tests. I failed some tests. But one thing that I did remember is like the tips when studying for NCLEX and all of those things. So I passed my whole registered nurse course. I got through the 14 months. I did it. It was all said and done. And then I made it to NCLEX. And the first time I took NCLEX, I failed. Now, I failed because I had a lot of anxiety. I wasn't really prepared, but it was something that I wanted to rush and do right away. And it was something that it made me discouraged. It made me go back and want to study everything I had ever learned. I wanted to make sure that I was ready. I did questions every day, every night. when I open my eyes, when I close my eyes, I was just doing questions, because I'm like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be ready. And so I want you guys to stay focused, learn from me, stay motivated, and just don't give up. I see so many people get there or get halfway there and then something happened and then you're ready to give up. So those were some of the things that I wanted to mention. So I want to go through some of the tips of my nursing school woes, some of the things that I wish I would have known, some of the things that I have learned along the way. So when it comes to taking nursing type questions, one of the first things that I recommend is that you read the question to the end. Because a lot of the times, the way the questions are set up, they're kind of tricky. You read the first part, and then the second part could say, accept, and then your answer would be wrong. So getting in the habit of reading the question to the end is going to be a big thing. The next thing I want to also recommend that you guys do is circle what the question is about. If it says accept, if it says select all that apply, these are things that you need to just be paying attention to because you want to get in the mind when you get down to the two best answers. What is this question asking me? When you go back up and look, you refer to the circled word, the key word of the question. Which brings me to the next thing. The answer is always, because nursing school is all about how you, the tests are all about how you process and answer questions. You have to know how to answer questions. You can have all of the knowledge, but if you don't know how to answer questions, you would still be winging it and still leaving a lot of, test questions at chance. So you're always going to come down to, for a lot of those questions, the two good answers. Two answers that might be the answer, but a lot of the times it might be asking you for the best answer, or what do you do first? And that's why you circle these key things in the question, because it's going to help you answer the question. The next thing was to, when you're studying and when you get something wrong on a test, read the rationale. It is something very important to know why you actually got a question wrong so that you can study it and know the answer moving forward. Knowing why you got the question wrong is very important. Reading those rationales, like if you're doing UWorld or different apps and stuff that actually help you prepare for test taking strategies, which I do suggest UWorld. A lot of people use UWorld for test taking strategies for NCLEX, but it also gets you in the habit of answering tests throughout school, and it will further in advance prepare you to take the NCLEX, which is your final exam to get licensure. The next thing was the test questions are like 70% knowledge, 30% how you answer questions. And it's probably pretty close like that. You have to be able to answer the questions along with the knowledge and the things that you have learned. The next thing is going to be, one of my tips is going to be, get your good grades first. When you go in, if your teacher ever offers you extra credit, I don't care if you have an A+, take the extra credit. Because extra credit is rare in nursing school. So if they give it to you, go ahead and do it and take it so that you can have it as a cushion. Because what happens is, if you get your good grades in the beginning, it serves as a cushion for if you were to get a bad grade later. Now, let me just be honest with you. I don't care if you're a straight A student, you're going to fail a test. It's going to come a time. So in the beginning, when it's very easy, I would be getting the A's out the way. I would be trying to get the good grades in the beginning. So when they hit you with that test where you don't know where it came from, it ain't going to shake you that much. It ain't going to make you lose that many points. And don't get upset when you fail a test, or don't get upset if you get a bad grade, or don't get upset if you have to start over at some point or repeat a course or anything like that. Do not let that deter you, because it happens to more people than like to speak about it. And let me just tell you, I've been a nurse almost 10 years. It's been like a good 9 years. I'm an emergency room nurse. I have been an emergency room nurse all over the world. I'm a travel nurse. And nobody would know that I failed a test before. Nobody would know that I failed a midterm before. Nobody would know that I failed the NCLEX the first time I took it. Nobody would know that based on my work ethic, because I am a very proficient and prudent nurse. So, C's get degrees, but don't be like that. That's how I used to be like, hey, whatever I got to do to make it out of this school, I'm getting out of this school. Another thing is going to be getting on the buddy pass, because let me tell you, life is going to life when you're in nursing school. Stuff going to happen. You going to fall out with friends. You might fall out in your relationship. You might lose your car. You might lose your job. Like, everything that could happen could happen. So you have to get that person that's going to pull you like, nah, girl, I ain't going to let you quit. And you got to pull on her like, nah, girl, I'm not going to let you quit. We got to finish this. We're going to study. We can get this. We can get this. Because I always felt like I worked with nurses, and I used to be like, they ain't too bright. I don't know how they made it. So I used to think about that in my mind. Like, I know people that just have done some of the craziest things, and it's like, I know if they made it through this program, I know I can make it through this program. And so those were some of the things that I used to think. Study it all. Is that my next point? Yes, my next point is study it all. So if your teacher gives you the lecture and gives you the pamphlet and say, everything you need is on this lecture, open the book and read the chapter anyway. Open the book, refer to a test bank for that particular class, whatever test banks are out there. Read the questions, read the answers, read the rationales. Don't ever just take that for face value, because that's when that test come where everybody like, was we in the same class? Did we get the same lecture? Because I don't remember seeing none of this. That happens. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure you study it all. The next thing was, before a big test, you want to make sure that you study. So, and knowing the way you study is also very important. So if you're a person that needs to invest in a tape recorder because you like to listen to it again, and you like to listen to it when you're going to the store and listen to it in your headphones at work, that's fine. If you're a person that likes notes, and you love your notes, and you love to make them colorful and organize them, and that's the way you learn, that's fine. If you're a person that likes a study group, I suggest that you get friends in that class. Make friends. In nursing school, it's not the place you want to be standoffish unless you just extra smart. Because like, the friends will help motivate you. And not only that, where you're strong, this person can be weak, and where they're weak, you can be strong, and you guys can really help each other. So that is not the time to not want to be bothered with nobody. Find you at least one friend so y'all can motivate each other. The next thing is when you don't pass, if you don't pass a class, not a class, but even a class, but when you don't pass a test, it's not because you're not smart. It could be some things that got you tripped up with the way the questions were worded. That happens a lot. You have to get in a good process of good study habits. You have to let some things go, because what I found, it didn't take me long to cut everything and everybody off. I'm like, okay, outside gonna be there when I got done, and when I graduated, outside was out there. So don't worry about those things and who you're going to lose in the process, because you're going to lose some people, places, and things in the process. Be prepared for that. The next thing is, another thing that I wanted to think about. If you are a single parent or something like that, and you're in a situation where you take the children to, or take your child to dad's house or grandma's house, and every once in a while it's an issue, like it's going to be issues when you're in nursing school, be proactive about that. If you can find a local daycare that you trust in your area, get your kid in daycare so that you can get yourself on a good routine, so that won't be a deterrent factor for you. The next thing is going to be, YouTube is your friend. So just like y'all watch YouTube for anything else, YouTube will teach you the blood flow of the heart, the different things about anatomy and the body, like Khan's Academy, and there's so many different other ones. Like, if you guys are in nursing school and you know some of the other YouTubers that you kind of watch that break things down and explain them a little bit better, drop them in the comments so that our brothers and sisters in Christ and our brothers and sisters can see just what you did to make it through. So YouTube is going to be your friend. Life is going to happen. Whenever you can, plan ahead. We talked about that, especially like with babysitters and things like that, with your car, with gas. If you're going to carpool with somebody, tell them, hey, you drive a week and I'll give you gas. I'll drive a week. Or if y'all taking turns, driving every week, this is your week to drive, the gas up. And then if it's their week to drive, they know the gas up, and that'll kind of save you on some money as well. The next thing is extra credit and doing your work early. like I said, if they ever give you extra credit, take it. Make sure that you do your work early. Do not be procrastinator when it comes to your work, because a lot of the times if you turn your work in early, let's just say you had to write a paper or anything like that, if you turn the paper in early, the teacher will grade it, give you some pointers, and if it's not up to par, then you get the chance to fix it and then turn it in again. So that's always a good thing to have. The next thing is going to be work less, hang out less, vacation less. Do not give up. You're going to have to give up some things, but do not give up on your dream. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, another thing with the questions is always err on the side of safety. So if you don't know the answer to a question, and in the answers anything about like call the doctor, recheck the dose, verify the dose, or verify anything that has to do with patient safety is probably going to be the answer. As well as I wanted to mention, so I told you guys how I started as a medical assistant. I went from LPN to RN, and now I got my bachelor's here recently, and now I'm working on my MSN, which is my master's to nurse practitioner. Anyone that wants to get the master's after you already have your bachelor's, the master's is only about writing papers. You pretty much already have your nursing knowledge once you go to get your master's. So anyone that wants to be in or participate in a leadership role or teaching environment, you're going to want to get your master's, as well as if you want to get into the nurse practitioner environment, then you're going to want to get your master's as well, which is what I'm working on. I'm working on geriatric nurse practitioner, because the geriatrics is my folks. That's my jam. So, and I've been like that since I was a little girl. I was raised by my grandmother until she passed away some years ago, and it's always been my jam. It's always been my favorite. So that's what I've been working on. So I just want to encourage you guys not to give up. Keep going. Find someone that encourages you. Life is going to happen. Be prepared the best way you can, and practice doing questions. Do questions in the beginning. Don't just wait till you're getting ready to graduate. After you study, if you want to do questions, do some questions on UWorld, or just find a common ground where you can go and do questions. Also, join study groups, like study groups for your school, if your school has a site, but just like nursing study groups, like LPN study groups, RN study groups, whatever it is that you're doing on Facebook, because you guys can kind of encourage and help each other with things that work as well. Just like this whole YouTube and TikTok environment. So now that TikTok is a whole thing, you can learn something in 10 seconds, like how the heart flows or whatever. So I just want you guys to stay encouraged. I just want you guys to hear from somebody who has failed their way to success, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. I want you guys to, when you have a big test, to get up, eat a good breakfast, and 7 to 8 hours of sleep is just as important, because if you're too tired or you don't have no protein on board in the morning, those are things that you need for your brain to function correctly anyway. So I want you guys to stay encouraged. I want you guys to finish nursing school. I am looking forward to see the new Nursebaes, and my socials are going to be linked below. So if you guys need any help with anything, feel free to hit me up. Another thing that I just thought about, make sure, like, I know a lot of people will get other people's notes from when they like graduate and things like that. That's okay if you want to compare them to your notes, but you have to think that other people's study styles are different. And if you got this person's notes and this person wasn't a good note taker, then that's not going to help you much. So I don't want you to use that in place of your notes. I still want you to be able to write down what the teacher was saying. And me, I had an abbreviation technique. I would write down everything the teacher said. And if they said it twice, I would highlight it, because that meant that it was important. So like, learning these things about nursing school will keep you going, and keep you encouraged. And then just getting with that person that encourages you. If you can go to school with a buddy, great. If you can't go to school with a buddy, make a buddy. That's just how this thing works. But make sure that you see your dream to the end, because everything that you go through, other people have went through. When I was in nursing school, I had to go through my children's dad. We had broke up. So it was me working and my kids. My other family, there was other people in the school who had lost parents, had went through divorce, and everything in between, lost siblings, had went through like some of the most harsh things, like one of my friends too, she had lost her mom that raised her right before graduation. Like, life is just going to happen. I want you guys to not give up when this happens, because it's something that's going to happen. But I wanted you guys to just hear the truth from somebody who has went through something, who has failed a test, who has failed NCLEX before. And I have been a registered nurse for the past 8 to 9 years in the emergency room, and I have worked level 1 trauma. That's my jam. ER is my jam, so I'll still do that on the side. When I finish my nurse practitioner, I'm still gonna do ER on the side, because I want to keep the skills, because that's just my jam. I love helping the team, and I love emergency type situations, like seeing a patient through to their next step, whether they're being hospitalized or transferred or whatever. I love that contact, and I love that teamwork. So that's my jam. And like I said, the elderly is my jam as well. I'm also going forth with some things in business as it relates to the nursing process. So I just look forward. If you guys have any questions or you want to know anything, I am a resource, and I'm going to link my socials and my email below so you guys can hit me up, and I will help you with anything through nursing school. If you know somebody that wants to pass nursing school, or if you yourself is trying to pass nursing school, hit me up. I'm a resource. I can help you. And I'll do this for free, because I want the Nursebaes to come with me. So that's all I have for you guys. That's all I can really think of, like off the top of my head. Those were some of the tips that will help you through nursing school. Just don't give up. Don't give up on your dream, and always keep that in the back of your mind. This is my dream. I am not giving up, and stick to it. And that's it. Wherever you want to go find the money, there's like different programs that you can go through. Like, I know the unemployment has a program if you're worried about finances. Speak with your financial aid advisor. There's scholarships. I have gotten scholarships. I have worked, like if you work in a library or you work the front desk, maybe one weekend a month, they can take off like 30 or 40% of your tuition if your school participates in those type of things. But you have to get with your financial aid coordinator to see where the money at, because money shouldn't be a reason why we ain't going to school no more. Now, we ain't doing that, because you can get loans, you can get grants, and you can get scholarships, and you can get free money from and I can't think of the name of it. If I think of it, I'll put it in the description. But it is a program that you don't have to be unemployed, but it is through unemployment. That's where I applied, and they will give you the money as well to offset some of the expenses. And then of course you have your student aid, your federal aid, and this sort of things, and you can take out loans and you can do whatever. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it, because you're going to be getting them coins that you can pay those debts back, and you're going to be getting them coins so you can move forward, and you're going to be in your nurse bag, and you're going to be a Nursebae like me. So that's all I have for you guys. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you like videos like this. That is my Testimony Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I will be coming to you guys with something else. And I hope this message encouraged somebody. And until the next video, y'all, bye for now.